When you hear the name Anne Frank, it's easy to picture a symbol, right? A figure from a history book. But behind that icon was a real girl, a teenager full of life, humor, and big dreams. So today, we're going to dive into her own words to really meet the brilliant, witty, and deeply feeling person who wrote one of the most famous books ever. And there's no better way to get to know her than through her own words. Just listen to this. Writing about a photo of herself, she says, "This is a photo as I would wish myself to look all the time. Then I would, maybe, have a chance to come to Hollywood." Isn't that incredible? Even while in hiding for her life, she's a teenager dreaming of glamour and movie stardom. It just instantly shows you the hopeful, vibrant person behind the name.
So to really get her to understand her words, we've got to take a step back and look at her world, the history that shaped her life, and of course her diary.
You can almost break her short life down into these stark, defining moments. She was born in Germany, but her family had to flee to the Netherlands to escape the rise of Nazism. But then the war followed them, and in 1942, they had no choice but to go into hiding. And so, tragically, she died in a concentration camp just months before the war finally ended.
After 2 years of hiding in that secret annex, the unimaginable happened. Someone betrayed them. The family was arrested and sent to concentration camps. Out of the 8 people who were hiding there, only Anne's father, Otto Frank, made it out alive. And when he returned to Amsterdam after the war, he was given her diary, which had been saved. It was this one-of-a-kind record of their hidden life.
So, why did she even start writing it in the first place? It wasn't just to keep a record of events. Nope. The real reason was much more personal, much more human. It's funny, in her very first entry, Anne herself thought the whole idea was a really strange experience. She wondered if anyone, including herself, would ever actually care about the musings of a 13-year-old schoolgirl. But she just had this powerful need to get all her thoughts and feelings out.
And this one line says it all. This is the core reason she wrote. Paper has more patience than people. When she felt like she couldn't talk to anyone, she realized that a piece of paper would always be there. It would listen without judging, and it would never get bored of what she had to say.
And this is where you see this incredible paradox. Look at this list. On the surface, she had it all. Loving parents, a big sister, a good home, even 30 people she called friends. And yet, with all of that, she still felt like she didn't have a single one true friend she could really confide in. So what do? Well, she decided she would create that friend. She didn't want to just write down facts in a journal. She wanted her diary to be her friend. And she gave that friend a name, Kitty. From then on, every entry was like a letter to the one person or thing she knew would always be there for her. Now, to make sure Kitty would understand all her stories, Anne kicked things off with a quick sketch of her life, just to set the scene for her new friend. So she briefly talks about her family's move from Germany to Holland, and jokes about how she was plunked down on the table as a birthday present for Margot, her sister. She also writes so lovingly about her grandmother and how she lit a candle for her on her own birthday. It's just this little snapshot of a totally normal, loving childhood right before everything changed. Okay, now for a story from her school days that just perfectly shows off her sharp wit and her playful side. This is where you really see Anne's personality just shine. So the villain of our little story is Mr. Keesing, her math teacher. She calls him an old fogey. And he was always getting annoyed with her because she talked so much in his class. So after a bunch of warnings, he decided to punish her with extra homework. And he just kept upping the ante. First, it was an essay on a chatterbox. When that didn't work, he assigned a second one on an incorrigible chatterbox. And when she still kept talking, he gave her this final, totally ridiculous topic that was clearly meant to make fun of her. But Anne, she met every challenge with pure brilliance. For that first essay, she actually argued that talking is a student's trait, and then she cheekily claimed it was an inherited trait from her mother, who was also a big talker. What can you do about genetics, right? Brilliant. For that final assignment, the quack, quack, quack one, Anne knew she had to do something special. She decided if Mr. Keesing was going to make a joke out of her, well, the joke was going to be on him. And her friend San, who was a great poet, offered to help her out. And what they came up with? Absolute genius. They wrote this incredible poem about a mother duck and a father swan who had 3 little ducklings that were bitten to death by their own father because they quacked too much. Well, Mr. Keesing got the point and he loved it. He read the poem to her class and even to other classes, and from that day on, he not only let Anne talk, but he started making jokes himself. She completely won him over.
So, this clever, funny, resilient schoolgirl poured her whole world into that diary, and after she was gone, her private thoughts became a global phenomenon. Think about this. Her diary, which she wrote in Dutch, has been translated into more than 70 languages. It's become one of the most widely read books in the entire world.
So why does it connect with so many people? Because it's so much more than a record of events. It's seen as the work of a truly mature and insightful mind. It gives us this incredibly intimate, personal look at what it was like to live with fear, but also with hope and humanity in the absolute worst of circumstances.
And through that diary, Anne Frank has become one of the most important and most discussed victims of the Holocaust. Her personal story puts a human face on a tragedy that is almost too big to comprehend, and it makes sure that we never, ever forget.
And that leaves us with this one big question, right? We've met this witty, lonely, brilliant 13-year-old. So what is it about her private thoughts, her hopes and fears, that gives them such timeless, universal power and allows her voice to echo so strongly through all of these generations?